Welcome to the Trainer Talk, where we discuss topics related to health and fitness to help you gain back control of your health and fitness and become the absolute best version of yourself physically and mentally. Enjoy. We are live for another Trainer Talk. Today is going to be a fun one. We're going to be talking about discipline and willpower. The title is Discipline and Willpower, Are They a Lie? Not necessarily, but I think people overestimate how much discipline they need and how much willpower they need to achieve their goals. And we'll kind of keep it strictly on health and nutrition, or health and fitness and nutrition, stuff like that for today. But you can really apply it to anything in life. What we want to talk about is kind of breaking that myth that, oh, DeLorean, I could never get as fit as you because you are just way more disciplined. You're a more disciplined person, as if you have that trait, from birth. Like you're not born a more disciplined person than somebody else necessarily. It's something that you learn, a behavior that you can adopt. And the thing is you only need so much of it to adopt a new behavior or habit. And that's what we really want to get into is you only need a certain amount of willpower and discipline to, let's say you want to start working out. You only need to muster up enough willpower and discipline for long enough before it becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, then you no longer need all that willpower and discipline. It just becomes a part of your day. So, and how you can kind of think about this is like the first time you started brushing your teeth. Maybe you were 10 years old or whatever, 9, 8, whatever. Your mom maybe brushed your teeth for you for a long time, and then you have to start brushing your teeth. Probably took a lot of practice before you got into that routine of doing it. And you're like, I don't want to do this. Like, this stinks, But you just did it long enough before it became a habit, and now you don't think about it. You wake up every day, you brush your teeth. It's no big deal, right? Same thing with waking up to go to work. Like, kind of stinks, but you just get into the habit and it becomes routine. You don't have to muster up a bunch of willpower every single day to get dressed and eat breakfast and go to work. Although some people might have the belief that it does take a lot of willpower if you're unhappy with what you're doing, but we want to kind of keep it more generic today and relate it to some of those other habits. So that's the big thing, is basically on average, it takes 66 days for something to become a habit. So if you can just have enough willpower and discipline for 66 days, roughly, it'll become a part of your lifestyle, and then you won't need as much of it. And so that's why discipline and willpower is kind of in a way, a lie. So I want to kind of get your guys' opinions on that, maybe apply it to your own habits or behaviors that you've adopted in your lives to get to where you want to be, and how we can help the audience do the same.
Well, I could start off with agreeing okay, so discipline and willpower, obviously it's something that you don't need for, it's not all the time. It's not a 24/7 thing where you have to be disciplined. You have to be using that discipline. You have to be using that willpower all the time. It's just being selective when you're going to do it. An example of that would be I use selective willpower or selective discipline when I make my Walmart orders for groceries. I order the things that I need and that are going to support my healthy goals. I don't buy ice cream. I don't buy cookies, because I know if I buy it and if it ends up in the house, I will eat it. I don't care how much willpower. I don't have a lot of willpower and discipline if people define it as that, of having something in your environment and then saying no and not going to eat it because I know I'm going to eat it. So I just don't buy it. So I'm having the discipline of not keeping it in my house, and then I don't have to use the discipline on a daily basis. I just have to use it on a weekly basis. So that's kind of a
hack.
Okay, you don't have to use discipline every time you walk into the kitchen, because if you walk into the kitchen 5 times a day and you got cookies sitting out, you got to use that discipline or that willpower 5 times a day. Versus, okay, I just buy my groceries once a week, and that's the one time you have to use a little bit of self-discipline.
Yeah.
And, it's obviously can be grown over time. It takes a little bit of work at first, and then it just becomes that second nature, like you said. So working out every day for 75 hard was hard at first, And it wasn't just like a normal thing that I did, because I really, like, Sundays, I didn't do anything. Like, I would just like lay around unless I was like going out and doing something. And now it's just become a part of the routine of, hey, I'm going to get a workout in just every day. And it's not even a question of whether I'm going to do a workout. I just do the workout. And like, some days I don't feel like working out. Yesterday, the whole time I was doing my workout yesterday, I was just dragging myself through it. I didn't have energy. I felt like I was going to throw up a little bit. And I was just like, we're just going to keep going. I'm like, I just got to get it done. And then you can move on. It was a 20-minute time cap. I'm like, just get it done. Just keep moving. And just do it at your pace. And I was done afterwards. And then it's just those little moments where you just kind of have to like, just keep pushing yourself through it. Just keep doing it. Just push on through, even if you don't feel like it, and like, just do what you need to do.
So in other words, like what you're saying is there's moments where you do need a little bit of willpower and discipline, but it's not on a daily, hourly basis,
right,
where you require this discipline and willpower to do the things that are going to move you toward your goals.
It's just those like crucial moments. It's like, you can really boil it down to like, 10% of your choices can dictate like 90% of the results you get, I would say. Like if you make the proper choices at the grocery store and you just like plan ahead of time for your workouts and everything, like maybe lay out your clothes or set yourself up for success. If you just like make 10% of the decisions, the right decisions, like the ones that are going to move the needle the most, that's like where 90% of the results end up coming from.
I like that the way you described that. You basically took, it's like, how can you make the situations where you do need a little bit of willpower and discipline, how do you just make it very easy and sustainable? I think that's where people kind of can go wrong in a lot of ways, is like by simply having a little bit of discipline and willpower for your grocery list and what you buy, so that you have a clean environment. You don't need willpower and discipline every single day you eat because you don't have it in the house.
Right.
Like, you're just making it easier on yourself to try to limit how much willpower and discipline you actually need and require.
Right.
So that's a really cool way to think about it.
Yeah. We definitely all agree that at the beginning of when you're starting to create a new habit, that's obviously when it takes the most discipline and willpower. And as it becomes a habit, it takes less and less. And like you guys said, we're always going to have those days that we don't feel like working out, or, just our simple habits become we need a little bit more discipline to follow through with them. And that just happens a lot less often the more you do it. Like brushing teeth or working out for us, or eating healthy. We've been doing it for so long. It's just a habit, but we still have those days.
Yeah.
One thing that I would say, though, is that I think that some people do have more discipline than others. Not that it's a trait. I do agree with you that it's definitely not a trait that we are born with. It is something that somebody can learn and practice. And that's why I think that some people have more than others, is because for example, take somebody like us that works out consistently. We're always learning, creating new healthy habits, versus somebody who doesn't have those same habits, and put us both in an environment with unhealthy food, or maybe some temptation, whatever that might be. That one person is going to be a lot more likely to indulge in whatever it might be than that other person. Like even, me, I want to learn guitar, right? I'm pretty disciplined because I've practiced for so long of exercising consistently, eating healthy consistently, going to bed on time, that I have that discipline, practice being disciplined, that I am more likely to be able to sit down consistently and learn a new skill, like guitar. That's just an example, than somebody else. But it's not that can't change. That other person could totally get to the same level as me. And it also depends on what it is too.
Yeah. So would you say it's that you're more disciplined, or that maybe you're just somebody that has more knowledge, and it's more of a behavioral kind of habit that you've adopted, or trait that you've adopted? Because if you think about, touching a hot stove, and you touch it and you're like, oh wow, that was really hot, I burnt myself, you're probably not going to do that again. So the more you know, the better behaviors you create. Like, whereas somebody that's never done that before, they're not going to know the difference. So like if somebody doesn't know a whole lot about, I don't know that my environment's setting me up to fail with my food and stuff. Like people don't maybe understand that.
Right.
So maybe it's like they need to learn that kind of stuff, and then they're going to make the conscious decision, be like, okay, now I'm going to change my behaviors.
Mhm.
That's where they have, okay, I need to be disciplined for this until it becomes a habit, and then I no longer,
Right.
you know what I mean?
They might not even be aware of that yet.
Yes.
And they
So
might
it's
not
the
even be to that
awareness
level.
of the environment and behaviors that I think a lot of people miss out on.
Yeah.
They don't, until they sit down and audit, like, oh, that's why this is happening. That's why this is happening.
Mhm.
I need to break this down and figure out, okay, how can I? And then that's when they're like, okay, now I need to come up with a plan,
Mhm.
be disciplined, and have this willpower for 2 months, 3 months on this plan. And then I've become a different version of myself. Like Bethany likes to say, become the person required to achieve your goals and live your best life, basically. So that's where I think
Yeah.
it gets interesting.
Yeah, it does. I think discipline is honestly a behavioral.
Yeah, it's like doing the things that need to be done regardless of how you feel.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I define it. Like
Yeah.
waking up every single day, doing the things that need to be done regardless of how you feel, and you just need to apply that to the things that are going to move you in the right direction.
Yeah. I think discipline and willpower can almost be seen of like as a muscle. You know what I mean? Like it takes a lot to like build the muscle, but not as much to maintain it. And like you're not using it all the time, but you use it when you need it. You know, like you can deadlift how much?
445.
445. Okay, so your muscles are capable of deadlifting 445, but that doesn't mean you got to deadlift that every day.
Mhm.
It's like when you need to deadlift 445, you can do it. And
Yeah.
it's like those are those hard days of like, hey, I need to use this discipline where, you know, say you go out to eat and they bring appetizers or something, and you use the discipline of like, I'm not going to eat the appetizers, like have everybody else can have them, and then just like leave that and have that, use that discipline because you set up the rest of your life, the rest of your environment that you didn't have to use that discipline. So I think it's almost possible that people have similar levels of discipline, but people have either grown it or they've just learned how to use it differently. So like some people, maybe they use up all their discipline by getting up and going to work. Like maybe they hate their job and it takes all the discipline and willpower that they have to get up, go to work, to, you know, help their kids with their homework, to do the household chores around the day. So they feel like their battery is drained, like they don't have the discipline left to like work out or to eat healthy, right? It's like you have a certain like allocated amount of discipline to use throughout the day. And if you spend it on other things, then you're not able to like muster up enough discipline or muster up enough willpower to get yourself to go do workout, and it's not in that habit.
Right.
So then it makes it harder to build that habit when you don't have like that tank. If that kind of, does that analogy kind of make sense?
Yes, and I'm getting ideas, and I actually listened to a podcast. So there's two different analogies that I could apply. I love that you related it to a muscle. And the stronger you make that muscle, the easier everything becomes.
Mhm.
So if you think about, and we like to say this too, like there's actually a video where they say the more hard things you do that you don't want to do, the stronger that you actually develop a part of your brain that is linked to willpower. Like you can kind of like what you said, like you need to have enough in the tank. Maybe everybody's tank's really small and they use up all their willpower every day, and that's why they don't want to do anything else. The more hard things you do that you don't want to do, in other words, kind of using discipline, the more you develop this part of your brain where it just makes things easier. And you could also, so you could think of it like a fuel tank, or you could think about it like a muscle. The stronger you make the muscle, the easier it's going to be. Like you said, like if you develop your deadlift to 445, going and picking up stuff around the house, doing yard work becomes easy.
Yeah. Right.
Whereas somebody that can only deadlift 45 pounds, doing all that stuff is extremely hard. And so they're going to be like, oh, I don't want to do this. Whereas you is like, it's no big deal.
And you got to put in that work.
Yes. And the same thing with the fuel tank. So it's like, okay, if you can make your tank bigger and have more of it to use, you can do more things.
So some people do have bigger tanks.
You can develop it.
Yeah.
So
And some people
that's
do have
where,
bigger muscle.
Yeah.
So
Right.
So you use the willpower discipline to create the behaviors and create the habits, and then you also develop the muscle in that tank to where it just requires a lot less.
right.
Yes.
At the end of the day, it just requires less.
Right, because you see people all the time here. Like I've had clients before that they're in here at 5 a.m., 5:15 a.m. They hurry up, get a workout in, go home, shower, drive an hour to work. Don't get back until like 8:30 at night. Go straight to bed. Repeat every single day.
Yeah.
Right,
Mhm.
and that's not everybody can do that.
Right. And
So they have
to
some
them,
bigger tanks. Right.
yes. So to them, they probably started in the same point as everybody
yeah.
else.
Yeah.
For that first couple months, that was hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
Very
just to
hard.
come in here and sign up.
They
Oh,
probably
yeah.
had to drag themselves here,
Yeah.
and they were like, "I hate this. Like, I don't want to do it." And then,
We'll
like,
think about our own routines. Like I went from college kid, party animal, stay up till 2 a.m., wake up at 11, worked at GNC, went to college, party with my friends, to, hey, you're a personal trainer the next month, got to wake up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
It's like, I had to completely retrain everything I knew, all my behaviors
Quickly.
and actions in a matter of a month.
Yeah.
So, and it's hard, right?
Yeah.
And it's still tough, but it's so much easier to wake up at 4 a.m. now than it was 8 years ago,
Yeah.
right? So the more you can just do something, the easier and easier it becomes. So
Yeah.
that's what I really want to get across to people is just like, yes, these things are tough right now, but understand that it's not tough forever. I think people don't even grasp that. Like,
Right.
the health eating, the nutrition. Like, I'm not the type of person that likes to work out. I'm not the type of person that likes to.
You could be.
Yeah, you could.
You could be.
Yeah.
You can be that
And,
person.
and it's a lot quicker than people think.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
realistically, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, maybe it's 6. But even if you look at the zoom out on your whole life, if you dedicated yourself to one thing for 6 months and it paid off for the next 30 years, like it's totally worth it. It's not that much time. Right?
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I think to get over the hump of like where it's super hard to when it gets kind of just like, okay, this is just what I do. I mean, it's different for everybody. And yeah, 66 days habit thing. I'd say it's like a month of it being like pretty rough. And then it's just like, this is just now your routine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's, you don't really think about it. It's just like, okay, just got to get this done. Of whether it's work, getting up at 5 a.m. to come in to train. It's like, at first it's really rough, but then you're just like, this is just how it is.
Mhm.
And then, same thing with like cooking or like when you move out on your own and okay, now I've got to do the dishes, got to do the
Clean.
laundry, got to clean. Like I got to make sure my finances are in order. I got to make sure there's, food on the table. I got to do all these things and make sure my insurance is up to date and all these things that you don't think about, you're going to have to worry about when you're an adult, but then you have adult things to worry about too. And also trying to make time for working out for, okay, how am I going to schedule my work and schedule and fit all these things in? And like looking at your weekends, like that's a big thing, is like looking at my weekends now and seeing all the things that I have planned. I'm like, I'm not going to have a weekend off and I don't even know how many months. And I was just like going through my schedule and I'm like, so I work all week and then I do things on the weekend. And so there's like, I'm like, where's the break? And I'm like, we don't have any breaks. Okay, that's cool. It's like, this is just how life's going to be for the rest of my life. It's just like, you're just going to be go, go, go. And you're going to fit in what, the important things that you need to get done and figure out where to fit in everything else.
And you get better at it over
And you
time.
get better at it over time.
Yeah.
And that just becomes your routine.
Mhm.
Of like, this is just how life's going to go. And like, just
The
accept
funny
it.
thing is actually it's very satisfying. Like when I'm not very busy, I don't know what to really do with myself, and I'm actually not as happy in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
Like you guys see me up here almost every afternoon, even though I don't have to be, because it's like, oh, I don't have to be there anymore, so I kind of want to go up there, like hang out, say hi to everybody, like that type of thing. So yeah, like you got to kind of, in other words, kind of like when I was going back with like doing the hard things, makes you better and makes everything easier, you also learn to embrace it and kind of enjoy it. Like people probably like the 5 a.m. early birds that get up here and work out every morning, like they feel amazing all day, and they probably are very proud of themselves for being those type of people that are early birds. Like they do that hard stuff. Like it makes them feel good.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, why do you think people love cold plunges so much, right? Those are
the feeling
huge,
after, and
rage right now, because it takes you. That's a discipline builder, and then you feel accomplished. You feel proud of yourself because you feel like, okay, I had the discipline to get in that this morning. It feels good to have discipline.
And as you noticed, we did it for like 9-10 weeks straight before you went on vacation. I got sick. Now we're gonna start picking it back up again. We have to do that today.
Yeah.
So, so here's the thing.
Dang it, you remembered.
But seriously, like after 4 weeks, I mean, it got a little easier.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like it definitely got easier to jump in there, And then we had 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off, and it got a little harder again.
Yeah. Got in there Sunday.
Last Sunday was tougher to get in there. But we know, okay, if we just get back into that routine and do it long enough, it's going to be easier again.
Yep.
And it's just become a normal part of our Thursday and Sunday routine.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me excited to know that anything that I want to learn or do or become, if I just do it with 100% intensity or focus for 66 days on average, I'll be able to learn it and do it.
Yeah.
It's really cool to understand that.
Yeah. You've learned how to get through that period of where it's tough, right? Yeah.
It's like when you're in a tough workout, like, our Metcons, if you look at it on paper or like outside of the workout, you're like, man, I'm not looking forward to that because that's going to suck. But then you just like accept that it's like, okay, that's might not be the most fun while I'm doing it. Like I might feel a little pukey. I'm going to be uncomfortable. But if you just go into it accepting that like, hey, this might not be the most fun thing that I do in my whole life, like it gets easier to do those things. Like the more you do Metcons, the more like the easier it is to do them.
Yeah.
But then if you do them less, like if you only do them once or twice a week, you'd be dreading it. You'd be like, oh man, like this is gonna be so hard.
The funny thing is we make it out to be worse than it usually is. I would almost say like almost 90% of the time when I'm dreading a Metcon, it ends up not being as bad as I thought it was. Yeah. There are definitely some of those workouts where like, oh, that was just as bad as I thought it was going to be, or worse than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. But I would say the majority of the time, it's actually not as bad as we make it out to be. Yeah. So when you're thinking about, I got to work out 3 days a week, I got to meal prep, we make it out to be way worse than it really is too. So, and kind of like cleaning your house and doing dishes, like we make it out to be this huge task that we ruin our day stressing out about it all day at work, like, I got all these things to do. But if you bust out a timer and you're like timed yourself how long it takes to throw a load of laundry in and throw the dishes in the dishwasher, you're like, oh wow, I just burned up my whole entire day for like 10 minutes it took me to load, and unload or whatever it is. So we understand that your mind always makes things harder than it needs to be as well. In that if you just do it, it definitely becomes easier. Anything else? There was something else I was going to add on to that, and then I forgot about it with your workout analogy. But
my workout analogy.
So we referenced last week running. So like how you were like training for a half marathon, right? So it took a lot of probably willpower and discipline to like you got to increase your mileage week after week after week until you get to the point where you can run your half marathon. But then once you get there, if Jared asks you, hey, let's go run for 45 minutes, that's no big deal.
Yeah, let's go.
Right.
Ready. Yeah.
You got a 5K, coming up. Oh, that's nothing. So if you can just apply it for a long enough duration to get better at those things, like with these long Metcons, same thing. The more you do them, the easier they're going to become in the long run, and the more you're going to be able to do with it. So that's another cool thing is like the more hard things you do, the more hard things you can do.
Yes.
That's another super cool part about it. So hopefully this made sense and it resonated with people. I know
hopefully you get something from it.
Yeah, hopefully you get something from it. And I think it'll probably open up people's eyes to understanding that it doesn't take as long as people think. The main goal for everybody that I want you to get out of this is you only need a lot of that discipline and willpower until it becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, you don't really need as much. You can apply that discipline and willpower to the next thing.
Yes.
So maybe it's like you want to eat better, start walking, and spend more time with your partner or your kids, and start exercising. So you got 4 different things. Focus on one of those things until it becomes a habit, and then go to the next thing. And that way you're not using up 100% of your stored willpower and discipline, and you can actually apply it to enough things. And then at the end of the year, all of a sudden you've got all these new habits and behaviors, and your life is on track to becoming, a better version of yourself. So
Yeah.
that's what I would have for my tips on how to start this. Any final thoughts?
No, I like it.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, hopefully you got some value from this. If you did, make sure you like it, share it with some people. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. It helps us out if you do share it and like and subscribe, so we can reach more people and help more people. So until next time, stay healthy and go out there and practice that one thing. All right, see ya. Thanks again for tuning in to the Trainer Talk. If you are ready to gain back control of your health and fitness, we would love to sit down and chat with you to see if we can put together a plan for you. All you have to do is head to taylorhutchinsonfitness.net and book a free consult. Again, make sure you like and subscribe if you like the video, and hopefully we'll see you soon.